And if I started taking Rants, I would be 23% better. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Running Rants with Helen. As always, I'm still Helen. I don't know at which point I should stop saying that, but and this is where I rant and talk about whatever I want. And today we are in Coldstream Canyon, running, and it was an easy hour, an optional off day, so I decided to run. And yeah, happy to be here. It's finally beautiful and nice and trucky again, and I have a race on Saturday. I'm running Cerro Gordo Silver Mine Run, which is a 7.7 mile uphill race to an abandoned silver mine. I think there's like 4,300 feet of gain outside of Lone Pine. Yeah, and I think it's supposed to be 90 degrees. So I'm excited about that. And today I just wanted to rant and talk about, I guess, like kind of social media generally, but I think more specifically within that about just like thinking about what you choose to put out and then also what you choose to consume. And something that kind of sparked this idea was Christopher Orman, 4 numbers, commented on my last video just about like his advice to completely stay away from Strava if you're like new to running or trail running. And I think for some people that could be really good advice, like maybe just depending on your personality and like how you deal with comparison and that whole thing. But like personally, I love Strava. I think it's like super helpful figuring out like where to run and like honestly hear like what things are melted. And also like I've actually met like quite a few of my running friends through there. Like I think that actually might be how I know Gina, who I paced at Miwok. And then I ran with this woman Liz, and I think I just knew of her through Strava too. And then also I feel like it kind of vets potential people to run with, because then like you kind of know the running that they typically enjoy. There's a trail restoration project in progress, which means I will have the JP Climb Switchback CR forever. Okay. But whereas like I just said how like Strava can be a useful tool, I think also generally I am very selective of the people that I follow, because I don't know, I have fallen into the like, especially leading up to a race, like looking at what other people are doing and being like, oh my gosh, they've run like X amount of miles week after week and they run so fast. And like, yeah, training matters, but it also like doesn't really matter. Like that doesn't mean you're gonna win or that they're any faster or better than you. Yeah, I just feel like generally I'm pretty selective about the people that I choose to follow on Strava. Like I would say I generally don't even follow a lot of people that I'm friends with, especially if I find myself like falling into that like comparison thing, which is like my own problem. And it's obviously absolutely nothing against them. It's just like maybe my own insecurity within running that like is a part of. And I don't like questioning my training because I don't really, like that's Rick's job, not my job. And that's just something that I don't want to have to worry about. And then also, if people don't title their runs, then I'm probably not going to follow them because it is social media. And I appreciate a little bit of effort. And then I think generally, like, I choose to be pretty transparent with my training on Strava. I guess I don't really know why. I think because it doesn't like bother me if people know what I'm doing. I don't think anyone is like doing something so secretive that's like making them so much better than everyone else that like it's not on there. When I was coming back from like my Achilles injury, I didn't post a lot of stuff, but that was also just because it was like kind of an up and down thing. And yeah, I don't know. I guess that's maybe the only time I haven't shared everything. Or if I like go run 2 miles with the kids, I don't always put that on there either. But I think that's also generally just a personal thing. And it kind of depends on like your like inner dialogue and how you use it as a tool, or if you find that it's like taking away from what you're doing. Because I'm also like at the point where I don't care if people think I'm slow. I will run slow, and I don't think like the external pressure of people on Strava is ever going to make me run faster.
To dig in a little more on like your injury, because like you chose to hide that, I think, because you started to feel like people would wonder why you weren't running, or maybe you felt like it would add pressure to you to start running sooner than you felt was safe.
Yeah, and I guess with that and like my injury and I guess like that feedback, it was also kind of just because I feel like Achilles, especially, like it can kind of be like an up and down thing. And so then, I don't know, I think I actually took the advice from Rick on that, because I didn't really feel any type of way about it at first. But then I feel like people do start like asking, or they're like, oh, I thought you were okay and you were running, and then you weren't. And then, yeah, it was just kind of easier to just take that whole component out of it. Yeah, and I think as far as that goes with Strava, I also just keep my Strava on private, because then you can like approve who sees it, because then there's also kind of like a safety element, especially if I'm like running from home. And I honestly don't think it's as big of an issue for me, because I rarely run in the same place and I never really run at the same time, so it'd be hard to find me. And there's like you can like hide where your run starts and ends, which I feel like has been super helpful. Well, I guess another thing about Strava too, which I kind of touched on, is like the friends that I've made from it, and also just like running community in general. I feel like then it's easier to find people that are like kind of interested in doing the same things that you're already doing. It's like finding places to run and you can see heat maps. Or like with Liz, I didn't know her, but I had been stealing routes from her for years. And there's like a ridgeline up there. And I actually talked to her about it when we ran together, but like you really, really feel like you should connect. And it in fact does not connect. You just end up in so much manzanita, but you really feel, because it doesn't even take you to the top of the hill, like the trail. So you're like, it's gotta go, but it doesn't. And she did make it a loop, and she said it absolutely was not worth it. And yeah, it was a ton of bushes. So stuff like that. And sometimes it's good to figure it out for yourself, but sometimes it's nice to not have to be in neck deep manzanita if you don't want to. I feel like Instagram is kind of a different dynamic, because it's just not all the exercising people. It's like more of everyone, it seems like. And I think it's the same thing, like just being selective of who you follow and like what that is putting into your brain. And I don't know, I think I said it before when I was making the video about like why I decided to do YouTube, but I think a big part of that is just protecting your peace, and like maybe we're not supposed to know all the information all the time or about everyone's lives. And so I feel like, yeah, generally I'm pretty selective about the people that I follow too, and I am very, very quick to block people because of that. And once again, it's usually not even about that person. It's like, oh, I like notice that like this thing, whatever it is, even if it's something dumb, like triggered an emotional response from me, and so I'm just gonna block it out, which I don't know if that's the healthiest way to deal with it either, but I feel like protecting your peace is important. But once again, I feel like the community that you can build, and like, yeah, I feel like that is also nice through social media. But once again, just like being discerning about what you are consuming, because if it's putting you into a worse headspace, like maybe you should consider not consuming that type of media. I feel like sometimes there are also like less tangible like benefits to Instagram than there are to Strava for me. I guess that's usually where I find my fingernail designs. But I don't know, that's kind of about it.
I think, I mean, from a consumption side too, like you consume a lot of race content and you kind of stay up to date on what's happening in your sport, right?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes because in ultra running, there's like a lot of overlapping race weekends. I feel like it's kind of hard to keep it straight. So then it is nice if like someone posts and they're like, oh, I'm running this race. And then it's like, oh, cool. I should check the little live tracker to see how it's going for everyone. Or like Transvolcania was like fun to follow. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess you don't really have to know what's going on in the sport, but I like to know. I think it's fun, and I like racing, and I like knowing how people are doing at races because it's fun. But I also feel like if that aspect of it started having like negative impacts on like my emotional and mental well-being, like I feel like then you just don't.
How do you gauge that? How do you know if it's eating away at you? Or
I think you just have to like recognize your thought patterns around it, you know? If it's like a, oh yay, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for that person, that's so cool, then I think you're good. But if it starts spiraling into a, oh my God, I'm not doing enough, X, Y, and Z, my training, and you start to like question everything, then that's probably not good. But I think that's different for every person.
cool. And then I think this is kind of Instagram and YouTube, I guess, and Strava to some extent, but like as a professional athlete, you have like contractual obligations for some deliverables. So like talk about how you use the platforms to, I guess, kind of talk about the companies who support you.
Yeah, I feel like I've talked about this a little bit in another video too, in the influencer one, but I think that my like deliverables for both like my nutrition contract with GU and for my like shoe sponsorship with Hoka, I feel like my deliverables are so few, and I don't think that's because they don't want me to do anything. I think it's because they want me to like be authentic to myself. And at least for me, like if they gave me a certain amount of like posts per month, like I would just start making shit up. I don't know, or like you're just grasping at things or posting like without a reason. And then it's just like inauthentic, which I don't love. Which is why I like YouTube, because I feel like I just get to talk. So I don't know, I feel pretty lucky with that. Like with Hoka, like Strava counts too, and I put everything on Strava. So then it just like, there you go. And And I think generally, like I said, I just wouldn't do very well if there were a lot of obligations. I feel like also like having you makes it a little bit easier too than if I were doing it on my own, because literally anytime I want photos for anything, you're usually very willing to help me, or even you're filming right now. But I think that's also like, I don't know, I can't stand when pro runners, like every post or every other post is an ad, or it's like actually genuinely like something that it, like the subject matter of their post is like something that feels authentic, that they like really thought about, and it feels very genuine. And then at the end it's like hashtag in my Tifosi sunglasses, and it's like, well, I feel like that just kind of, at least for me, delegitimizes everything that you just said. But I think that's also different for everyone. And like, I feel like, I'm gonna say it, I feel like the Kurans ones are the worst. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm the one who's missing out. And if I started taking Kurans, I would be 23% better. But to me, it just feels like such, I don't know. It's like, I don't know how much they're paying these people, but it just doesn't feel like genuine. It doesn't feel genuine to me, and it just feels like marketing. And I personally don't like when I feel like products are being shoved in my face. Do it sneakier.
I don't think sneakier, just
well, okay.
authentically. Like you legitimately do eat goo on every long run you do, and you wear Hokas, and like they're the products that make you get through your training well, right?
I mean, I think that this is like almost turning into another thing, but we can take this tangent. And it's one of the things that actually like really bothers me is when it turns into and I don't know, maybe I'm saying this from like a privileged position where I literally just got sponsored by my ideal brands that I already used. But like, if you don't use something and then you get sponsored by them, and then you're like, well, I never used it, but now I do. I guess it's better if now you do than like you don't at all. But like, to me, that just, it feels like, I don't know how to say it other than like slimy. I don't like it. But I also understand, well, I don't understand, I guess. Yeah, it's like, why would you promote using shocks if you don't use them? It makes no sense to me. Or like certain nutrition things, and then you're like using other nutrition that you have to pay full price for. Like, why are we pretending that we use this thing when we don't? It drives me a little crazy. And like, I guess like maybe because I'm on the other side of it and like I know some of these people, then like I see the other side. But I guess maybe like as a fan or someone who's not as closely intertwined to the professional side, like maybe you do think that people genuinely use it. But to me, that just feels like trickery, and I don't like that. But that's also another reason why, like, I am not going to make a YouTube video. Like, I could talk about my shoe rotation, but also we have to like recognize that my shoe rotation is exclusively Hokas, because those are the only shoes that I run in, because those are the shoes that I am paid to run in. And I'm not buying other shoes and like, I mean, I was wearing Hokas before this, but also I wore a bunch of other different shoes, and I feel like that take and from those people is like a lot more useful than someone who is like paid to exclusively run in one brand. And I think that's also another reason why I'm never gonna like, I think I also talked about this, like I'm never gonna be the person who says, and you should for sure, wow, a crevasse. This is new. Is this a seismic fissure? Or do you think that's water? that's crazy. Yeah, just because something works, like, oh, okay, wait, one more thing on the shoe thing. It's also like, there are so many different brands of shoes, and I feel like different shoes work for different people. And Hoka's happened to work for me. That doesn't mean I'm gonna tell everyone that they should wear them, because that's probably like not the best for them, or maybe it is, but who am I to say, because I don't know them, and they should figure it out themselves. And I think the same goes for nutrition. Like, it's just so specific to the person. Like, I genuinely love eating goo, but I know not everyone does. And so, like, who am I to say everyone use goo? I don't think that's my place. So maybe in that case, maybe I'm a bad pro athlete. I don't think that's true. I ran a 5:19 downhill mile yesterday. I am not a bad pro jogger. Bragging. Yeah, sorry, that took like a big turn from like what I was talking about, but that's why it's called Running Rants. And I talk and rant about whatever I want. And sometimes that could change mid-rant. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like YouTube is a little different just because really, like, I don't think I really consumed that much YouTube before I started making YouTube. I'd say maybe now I do more. But I don't know, I feel like I kind of watch it more for like creative ideas and to see what like other people are doing. I watched Seth Ruling's video. Well, I guess it was about all the Boulder Boys. And I really liked it. I thought that was like super well done. And like Mally Noise, she is a skier, runner. She's both. But her YouTube was mainly focusing on skiing. And I love watching her videos, and I feel like she does a lot of cool editing things, like when she stacks bricks. And then sometimes I feel like I watch some YouTube videos and it's like, oh yeah, I definitely don't want to make anything like that. Yeah, I feel like I consume less on YouTube than maybe the other ones. But I think that it's cool because it gives like a platform for potentially more long form things, and I feel like maybe a little bit more insight into how people are than like Instagram or Strava do.
Talk more about that. Like you've said in the past, like with Instagram, you've had a couple big results and you'll get this big influx of new followers and you feel like you're almost kind of judged or perceived based on these short posts on YouTube or on Instagram. Does YouTube feel like more like you're able to let people into your world a little more?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously most of the time I'm still talking about running related things. And so I don't think it's like the whole picture of who I am, but I do think generally it gives a little bit more insight. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like it also like then gives you control of what you're putting out there to an extent, because with podcasts, I just feel like I essentially say the same thing every time because it's like, well, yeah, that's how I got into trail running. That's how it's been going. Like, this is my philosophy on it, because that has like kind of stood true throughout all of this. And I, like, no offense to podcast hosts, but they all just kind of seem to ask the same questions, at least on the ones that I've been on, which is fine, because they have different audiences maybe. But yeah, I think that it's fun to be able to like choose what I talk about and like not keep going over like the same exact thing, I guess.
And has there been any like point with YouTube where you felt like you need to step away or like it's felt unhealthy like maybe Instagram or Strava has?
No. I mean, there was like the few hours where I thought I was gonna quit because I wasn't gonna run on a road. But Other than that, no. And I think part of it is just kind of the whole premise of my channel, which is running and talking. And whether or not there's like a camera here, I will be running and I will be talking while I run. So I feel like it's just like not a huge stretch or like a lot of extra work, which I think is what keeps it sustainable, and like not overwhelming. I think especially now that like the one wheel thing isn't a whole situation, it feels a lot better because it's not like I'm literally on my run for the day. I'm not doing like an extra run or running somewhere that I wouldn't run. I think also generally like there's more now, like even within the last like year, but I also feel like there aren't that many like ultra runners on YouTube, so there's really not even like that much content to consume.
And then do you think about YouTube as a like as a pro athlete, you're essentially running a business. You are your business. Do you think about how your social media channels play into that at all?
Honestly, I thought about it more when I was like on the North Face team, because they pretty much just sponsor influencers. That was rude. That's not true. But it does seem like it's a pretty big focus on that team, more so than some other ones. It does. I mean, I'd like to think that it makes me more valuable as an athlete, like especially when my contract's up and I'm re-signing, and obviously like my performances matter a lot, and I would like to think like the most, but I think this is also, for better, for worse, a part of it, and figuring out a way that like feels authentic and fun is important, because that keeps it sustainable and it keeps me not bitter. This has been another episode of Running Rants with Helen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Me and the snowcat.